Who's for the trench? Are you, my laddie? Who'll follow French? Will you, my laddie? Who's fretting to begin? Who's going out to win? And who wants to save his skin? Do you, my laddie?
Then the Colonel told us we were going to take Monchy-le-Preux. Along the street and up the hill the crowd surged, just like we did. It was practically deserted, but every house showed signs of a hasty retreat. That direction, then cut back, you know, so basically it's keeping to the high ground, so you're looking down over the British there, because remember the British line would run along the edge of that wood there into the valley, the bottom of the valley, and then turn. So the Germans are up the top of the valley here, they're on the top of the valley on the other side.
Okay, so we've got an artillery shell ring there. The fusel is sat on top of the ring. You can see it's made of brass. It's still got its original thread in here, and it's survived 100 odd years of ploughing here on the Somme at Thiepval, found about an hour ago.
The Encre at a Mel, Afterwards, by Edmund Blunden, written 1928. Where tongues were loud and hearts were light, I heard the Encre flow. Waking oft at the mid of night, I heard the Encre flow. I heard it crying that sad rill below the painful ridge, by the burnt unraftered mill and relic of a bridge. And could this sighing water seem to call me far away, and its pale word dismisses dream the voices of today? The voices in the bright room chilled, and that mourned on alone, the silence of the full moon filled with that brook's troubling tone. The struggling Encre had no part in these new hours of mine, and yet its dream ran through my heart. I heard it breathe and pine, as if its rainy, tortured blood had swirled into my own, when by its battered bank I stood and shared its wounded moan.
I have a rendezvous with death on some scarred slope of battered hill, when spring comes round again this year, and the first meadow flowers appear. God knows 'twere better to be deep pillowed in silk and scented down, where love throbs out in blissful sleep, pulse nigh to pulse, and breath to breath, where hushed awakenings are dear. But I've a rendezvous with death at midnight in some flaming town, when spring trips north again this year, and I to my pledged word am true. I shall not fail that rendezvous.
came from La Boiselle. There's a little bunch of trees here dead in front of us with a little kind of a white van or something parked on the right hand side, and the German line came just to the right of that, and then you can see there's a dip here just beyond us, and that's Sausage Valley.
In 1998, they had a really wet winter, and a lot of this earth and mud around here got churned up. And in a very popular tourist place like this, they discovered the heel of a boot belonging to George Nugent. They found the hobnail shining, and in further investigation, they dug up his cap badge and something from his personal kit, so they could really identify him. And on the 1st of July 2000, they buried him with full military honours, and I was there, and the local regiment sent over the lads in their kilts and the bagpipes and some surviving relatives, and yeah, it was really good, and it was a really moving moment.
One evening I was in the trench with Richardson and David Thomas near Trafalgar Square, if anybody should remember that trench junction, when we met Pritchard and the adjutant. We stopped to talk. Richardson complained what a devil of a place it was for trench mortars. Pritchard said, that's where I come in. He was the battalion trench mortar officer, and he'd just been given the first 2 Stokes mortar guns we'd seen in France. You know, the Stokes mortar is really it's the beginning of the modern mortar. You know, where you have a mortar tube and you literally just drop the shell in and out it comes, you drop another one in, out it comes, drop one in, out it comes. There was one on the left, by the way, as we went in the cache, that looked like a car exhaust pipe. That was one of the Stokes mortar shell. Pritchard said, they're beauties. I've been trying them out, and tomorrow I'm going to get some of my own back. I can put 4 or 5 shells in the air at the same time. The adjutant said, about time too. We've had 300 casualties in the last month. Perhaps it doesn't seem so many because we've had no officer casualties. In fact, we've had about 500 casualties in the ranks since Luss, but not a single officer. Then he suddenly realised he'd said something unlucky. David said, touch wood everybody, and everybody sprang to touch wood. This is typical, but it was a French trench and it was unrevetted. The French were notorious for having awful trenches, revettings that wouldn't support, it holds up the side, because it's a French trench, there isn't any. I pulled out the pencil from my pocket, and that was wood enough for me. Richardson said, I'm not superstitious anyway. Well, can we guess what happens? Within 2 days? Yeah, here we are. Lieutenant Thomas, Captain Richardson, Second Lieutenant Pritchard. Within 2 days of the little group of 5 who've been talking, 3 of them were dead. Yeah.
Tomorrow's joy is fine. We're the only girl in the world, and you.
Behind me were the horror and darkness. Kinjack had thanked me. It was splendid to be alive, I thought, as I strode down the hill, skirting shell holes, jumping over communication trenches, for I wasn't in a mood to bother about going along the bottom of wet ditches. The landscape loomed around me, and the landscape was life, stretching away and away into freedom.
In Devonshire, I was a keeper. Half my life I lived outdoors, using skills my father taught me on land that edged the open moors. I'd cut the snares of every poacher, rising hours before the sun. I set traps and planted cover, then drove the birds towards the gun. I fought in France like half this county, with all the skill I brought from home. I set traps and laid the wire till the earth grew red as Devon's own. July the 1st, 1960, we early rose, passed round the rock. The whistles blew and we broke cover and walked in line towards the gun. Oh, love is handsome and love is fine, right hand.
The darkness crumbles away. It is the same old druid time as ever. Only a live thing leaps my hand, a queer, sardonic rat, as I pull the parapet's poppy to stick behind my ear. Droll rat. They would shoot you if they knew your cosmopolitan sympathies. Now you have touched this English hand, you will do the same to a German, soon, no doubt, if it be your pleasure to cross the sleeping green between. It seems you inwardly grin as you pass strong eyes, fine limbs, haughty athletes, less chanced than you for life, bonds to the whims of murder, sprawled in the bowels of the earth, the torn fields of France. What do you see in our eyes? At the shrieking iron and flame, hurled through still heavens, what quaver, what heart aghast? Poppies whose roots are in men's veins drop and are ever dropping, but mine in my ear is safe, just a little white with the dust.